Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I had a nice little sleepy time crash the other night, so I didn't get done as much recording as I would have liked, but I am here, and I am here to show you another one of my personal favorites, and it looks like we rolled classic soundtrack again. Oh, hello. Okay, hold on. Controller is deciding to act a little silly today. There we go. Alright, this is another one of my more recent builds, not as recent as High Tempo, of course. But I am going to now show you my Ultra Combo setup, which is of course going to have a different name. This one is basically a play on the kind of push-pull mechanics of certain arcana. So the idea is to draw enemies in with that, then use Aqua Vortex as a combo linker, and then finish off with some other ability. Now, my usual go-to ability for that is, and the one I'm going to be using for this, is Shearing Chain. But you don't necessarily have to use Shearing Chain for this. You could use, like, Tectonic Drill is a great finisher. Right there. I would also say Shattering Strike is a good finisher. Shock Assault could potentially be good. Same with Radiant Beat. Obviously, the sword. There's a lot of good options for the finisher, but the crux of this one is Aqua Vortex and Fiery Yo-Yo. And the big reason for that is because Fiery Yo-Yo will continue drawing enemies back towards you as long as you hit it from the right range. Enough so that you can hit them with the Aqua Vortex, and then finish with that when you're out of uses of Aqua Vortex. And the best Arcana to start this with is Dark Katana, so I mean, yes, this is essentially an evolution of a Dark Katana build, but I am going pretty hard on using the back and forth knockback mechanics on this one. You could also use something just a little bit longer range than Fiery Yo-Yo and then use Fading Petal here. That has a much the same result, but it is a little bit more finicky, and I personally like Aqua Vortex because it does have that final burst of freezing ice once it's upgraded, and I think that really helps out its viability. Now, your dash isn't really that important for this build. For your dash, you just want something that has strong enough utility. Something that will keep enemies off your back when they start to close in and you're not ready to combo them. Or something that you could potentially use to start the combo. For this, I will use Thunderline. But there is absolutely no harm in using a different dash if you want, so long as you're pretty sure it'll work for you. Razor Burst comes to mind when I think about the most appropriate dash for this build. It's a pretty good one. I would say Frost Feint would also be pretty good, and as we all know, Chaotic Rift just works well in all scenarios. And then the obvious reason why we choose Dark Katana for this build, as well as the robe that we're using, is because both Aqua Vortex and your signature should be melee focused, so that Dark Katana really gets the job done. Now we just need Nox to cooperate with us. That could, of course, be easier said than done. There we go. Now, this is one of my own, like, particularly strong builds. So I think I'm going to give myself the challenge of just going and seeing what we end up dealing with. You know what? Not bad. There is the obvious problem that my signature is going to be resisted by both Shu and Zeal, but oh well, I guess I'll live. Ooh. Claws of Tomo. That is particularly nice, because that's going to help us both get critical hit chance and an upgrade to our basic. So now we have one less thing we need to worry about. Now, the obvious method of this build is to just combo your enemies to death without them really getting a chance to fight back very much. Iris is being super helpful. Like, this is unprecedented. Alright, let's wait for my other use of Aqua Vortex to come back. I think the Pewter Bracelet is probably going to be my best option, and it's a good thing that it appeared so early. So we can really get the most out of this. Now remember, this is primarily a critical hit build. So getting the biggest damage numbers possible isn't necessarily even what we want. Just a little bit of damage up will actually be worth quite a lot. Oh, pardon me. So we now have another potential combo linker here, and it's just a matter of, do I want Frost Scimitar or Tracer Barrage? And I think the answer to that question is yes. Now, it is possible that I will want to exchange those for something else, as they don't necessarily gel well with Dark Katana. But I would also say that's probably not the biggest of concerns. Alright, I see one more combat room, and I want to do it just because I want to make sure that we're moving on to the next floor with a bunch of money. Alright, I will say right now that probably wasn't worth it. Alright, so let's go ahead and upgrade both the Vortex and that. And that is basically how the entire build works. It's just one big combo. Now, do I want to take a risk on getting the... Yeah, let's take a risk. We are not going to Freya's stage, so taking a risk on getting the Poem of Fiery Rhyme seems like a good idea. It seems like a good plan. But yeah, just for regular old mooks, you're rarely going to need anything more than... You're rarely going to need anything more than Fiery Yo-Yo and Aqua Vortex. This is another one of those times where the idea was to make as much use out of a multi-use Arcana as I could. Hello again, good sir. So the obvious thing that I should probably take from here is the Golden Saber of Envy. But because we are still looking for relics and potential spell upgrades, this is not the right time to take it. Like, we might end up just leaving this floor without a cursed relic at all, honestly. Alright. So far, so good. Like, I have no complaints about how this is working out so far. So now the question is, do I upgrade my Frost Scimitar? I really see no reason not to. I don't really feel like taking... like, those would be good choices for me to take. I like that, and I like that. Okay, don't really care about Pandemic Pouch, but there it is. So, hooray. Might as well grab it, it's a freebie, and I can sell it to Kremire if I find him. So the obvious idea behind this build is just to get in and combo as much as possible. Now, against the higher level bosses, that can be difficult, and you would do best to take something that increases your stun time. Okay, you guys are pissing me off now. Ooh, hello. Yeah, we should just do this. Now, you could also call this the Brutality build, even though Brutalities were changed in Mortal Kombat 11. What they used to be is essentially the equivalent of Killer Instinct's Ultra combos. So, I mean, whichever term you like better. But Killer Instinct... I don't know, I really liked Killer Instinct. Now, I haven't played the, new Killer Instinct, so to speak, if you would even consider it new anymore. But I remember fondly my time with the Super Nintendo original, and then, obviously, Killer Instinct Gold on the Nintendo 64. Both of those games were just defining of my love of fighting games. Even though I'm not necessarily great at fighting games, they give me ideas for abilities and combat techniques for my characters in other areas, like, of course, Dungeons and Dragons and... Now, obviously, as the enemies become more dangerous, it becomes harder and harder to pull off the full Ultra combo. But that's why you use it piecemeal, unlike what I'm doing, where I'm trying to force it. More fairies. And more power stones. Alright, well, I don't have a choice but to buy a potion now, because otherwise I'm going into the next floor at too much of a disadvantage. So, I will obviously say that this build can be a little on the dangerous side on later levels. But that's why when you're using this, you make sure that you're splitting your focus between doing the combo and just plain old being effective. Part of the reason why I'm so glad I got an Arcana that's so good for control. Because the enemies can start doing tricksy little things like using jump attacks or casting more spells. Alright, be careful of the nitroglycerin. Now, obviously, the more damage you can do. I mean, that's never a bad thing. It's just better to me. It's better when you're using this build to focus on your critical hit chance more so than your damage. Because when you're focusing on critical hit, you don't need a lot of damage ups for it to be very effective. But obviously you don't turn it down if you can get it. There we go. Hello, you have a couple of things that I like. More specifically, you have one thing that I like. Alright, we'll probably make good use of that. And there's your ultra combo right there. Alright, do we have any other freebies on the ground? No. Okay, so what we do is we buy this and we buy this. Alright, everything we want to hold on to, we put over here. We want that, we want that, we want those. Can't drop those. We want that, we want that. I don't care about that, I don't care about that. And we don't sacrifice fairies to the Mimic. I'm just thinking about the cruelty of the Mimic eating fairies. No thank you. Why would you do that to such beautiful creatures? Matter of fact, one of my upcoming D&D sessions is going to revolve around trying to help a colony of fairies. It might not be for a couple of weeks, but... Alright. So in case any of you were wondering, yes, we are still playing Dungeons & Dragons. We're currently doing a kind of alternating week thing where my bestie is the DM of one campaign and I am the DM of another. and the campaign that I'm currently running is basically Monster Hunter themed. So it's the same idea. You're part of a guild. You go out to hunt monsters to try to appease people and protect the ecosystem. Now, I try to stay away from the actual creatures from Monster Hunter, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to always do that. Oof. Okay, last couple of rooms were a little stressful. So yes, don't ever think that I'm done with Dungeons and Dragons, because that is still one of my favorite things to do with my time. And with any luck, our next session will be this Wednesday, and I will be hosting. I've already got the next couple of quests lined up for my players. I'm really looking forward to doing a little bit more world building and getting them into the swing of things. Ow. Yeah, Breezy Great Canvas would be nice to have. Or Limo's Leaf, either one. I already saw what was for sale at Iris's shop. There's nothing too special. And this is why it would be nice to have something that can increase your stun times. Because bosses tend to break out at higher level, they break out just a little too quickly. Okay, Jesus. Well, that was nuts. It's a... I mean, to be fair, Fadeaway Rhythm could be good against this boss, but I think we'll hold off on that for now. Ooh, more fairy. We'll wait on that. Okay, you guys need to cut it out. I better go grab that health potion now before I get into any more trouble. Right, easier way to do that. Also, do I have anything I want to sell? Not really. And we'll buy that just as a little temporary reprieve. Honestly, we're probably good just to move forward. And with Ella's Glass Kite, we'll be able to tank a little bit of damage, which is probably good. It's usually good to be able to just tank a few hits. Easiest boss in the game. Oh, that was... okay, that was overkill. Alright, do we have anything here that we actually want? I mean, not really, to be fair. Yeah, I don't think anything here is really worthwhile. Alright, so we're just gonna beat down Sewer with a nice ultra combo, brutality, whatever you want to call it. There we go. And Ultra Combo! Still one of my favorite builds. I love this build to death, and hopefully it gave you guys some interesting ideas on how to use things like Aqua Vortex or Fading Petal, which I think have a lot more utility than one would believe. Now, as far as other Arcanas that drag enemies into you, you could, of course, use Mortal Coil. Deferred Dynamo drags enemies into you. I just don't think any of them are as strong or as universally useful as Aqua Vortex. Remember, once you get it upgraded, it freezes enemies, and that has more than just a little bit of utility. It's freaking fantastic is what it is, and for a build like this where you're looking to combo using knockback, to just drag enemies into you and continue pummeling them, I really think there is no better option. Now, that having been said, since this build does rely heavily on enemy knockback manipulation, you really shouldn't take Mystic Monopole. Like, if it comes up, just ignore it. It'll throw off everything. Now, admittedly, Mystic Monopole would be good for putting together other types of combo builds where you sit perfectly still and just wail on an enemy that's barely getting moved around. But that's an experiment for another time. This is, of course, one of my personal favorites. Honestly, give it a try. This is a lot stronger than you would give it credit, than I think a lot of people would give it credit for. And it's a lot of fun to put together. And those freebies that I got right away in the beginning never left my inventory. So, there you go. I was wrong about that, and you know what? I'm happy to be wrong about that, but I'm rambling at this point, so I will just say thank you guys very much for watching and continuing to support my silly ass. Obviously, the YouTube 5-step is something that you should do to help a brother get noticed. I once again say welcome to those of you who are just subscribing and checking out my stuff for the first time. I appreciate you guys very much. I wish you all a fantastic day or night wherever you may happen to be, and I will see you in the next one. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and take care, everybody.